The solution to the political turmoil in Rivers State may have been found following the president's intervention, as stakeholders in Rivers State politics have agreed on 8 resolutions to restore peace to the troubled oil-bearing state following the face-off between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike. The disagreement between Fubara and Wike has polarized the State House of Assembly, leading to the emergence of factional leadership, according to an 8-point resolution signed at the end of the meeting on Monday night. The president directed, among other things, that all lawsuits instituted in the courts by Fubara and his team regarding the political crisis in Rivers State be withdrawn immediately. The resolution was signed by Fubara, his deputy Ordu, Wike, Ribadu, factional speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martin Amaewhule, chairman of the People's Democratic Party in Rivers State, Aaron Chukwuemeka, and his All Progressives Congress chairman, Tony Okocha. Now, according to the directive, Fubara was mandated to represent the 2024 appropriation bill he had earlier presented to the 4-member State House of Assembly to the full House. Now, this is our focus on this segment of the program, and quite a number, about 8 points resolutions were agreed upon yesterday following that meeting. We'll look at much more from that, but I mean, Sumaya, this is something that has dragged till this moment, and a lot of people didn't see it coming. Well, some have seen it coming, but for many people, they didn't see it coming because it was, I would say, it was still early to think about this kind of conflict, at least not at this magnitude, between a person who is considered to be the favorite or the anointed one, quote and unquote, of his predecessor, Governor Nyesom Wike, and now they fell out just a few months after, the elections. And a lot of people have been asking the questions, and yes, in bits and pieces, some of the reasons why what happened started coming out. We started hearing people who are, observers of Rivers politics saying things along the lines of, it's about retaining control.
Loyalty.
The former governor retaining control in the state and retaining his structure, quote unquote. He himself alluded to that fact, and talking about appointments in the state. A number of the commissioners are loyal to former Governor Nyesom Wike, and we have seen that, and this has also revealed, with the resignations of some of them, some of the lawmakers, I would say majority of the lawmakers are loyal to former Governor Nyesom Wike. Just goes to show you how powerful state governors are in their states, how they control the party machinery and all the political structures in the state. This is a man, the former governor of Wike, governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, is a man who, despite what you could describe as anti-party activities, was still able to maintain such control in the state.
Yeah, it's really a very fascinating, should I say, and really confusing situation happening in Rivers State at the same time. I mean, we saw the former governor of Lagos, Fashola, coming out to say that the president is not expected to mingle or to, dive into exactly what is happening in Rivers State, when a lot of stakeholders were calling on, the president to mitigate, to at least fill in that gap and make sure he called these two people to settle. But how we even got here is the most, confusing part of it, the godfatherism thing of how you did your time. And there was a video clip, taking you back to when Wike was facing almost the same thing with what's his name?
Rotimi
Amaewhule, exactly. And then you come back now and you want to take that sample. It was a really sad situation, and both of them at that moment were only thinking about I need to assert myself in
Yes.
this point. I need
Yes.
to assert myself. So right now that these people have sat down and at least somebody has been there, the president and other, a lot of people, they were mentioned of, stakeholders, the traditional rulers from
Yes,
Rivers
meeting in
also
the state.
In that meeting, sitting down to talk about the situation. It's something at least that is progressive.
Again, we would look at how reaching these resolutions are really to put to rest this matter once and for all, whether or not it will actually yield the desired results. Because it's one thing to have this formal meeting and have these agreements in the public glare, but it's another, to actually see that the two have actually agreed to work. But then, if you ask me, I would say, okay, so as a governor, shouldn't the governor have the powers to take decisions as he pleases? Shouldn't he have the powers to decide who he wants to work with in his cabinet, for instance? And, all the other political actors in the state at the local government level, for instance. Yes, at the local government level, it is expected that local governments as third tier of government is supposed to run with some level of autonomy because they are the chairman, local government chairman are supposed to be democratically elected. But that's not what we have seen over time. And hopefully this is what these resolutions will address, and we'll see how it goes. But for the mention, let's take a look at all the 8 points that were outlined in that agreement. One of them, like I mentioned, is that all matters instituted in court, by Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Fubara, and his team in respect to the political impasse be withdrawn. The impeachment proceedings that was initiated against the governor of Rivers be withdrawn immediately. It's one of the resolutions. Then the next one is about the leadership of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Initially, there was a back and forth, and there were factions. You have the Martin Amaewhule faction, and you also have the Edison Ehis faction, who is loyal to Governor Fubara in the state. But as it stands now, the Martin Amaewhule shall be recognized alongside the 27 members who resigned from the PDP. So that's on the Wike faction, or the Wike side of things, if you like. Now, the remuneration and benefits of all members of the Rivers State House of Assembly and their staff must be reinstated immediately, and the governor of Rivers State shall henceforth not interfere with the full funding of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Again, first of all, how did governors become this influential in the first place? How did the governors become this powerful such that they are able to control the state legislative arm? The former governor, Wike himself, I'm sure, is part of the issues. If you talk about the funding of the state assemblies, there have been executive order in regards to that, to the effect that states should be able to receive state assemblies should be able to receive their remuneration, directly from the federal purse. And because of the relevance of this is to deal with the issue of the overbearing influence of state governors on the state legislature, on the state legislative arm. But here you have
what really happened.
Fubara is expected now to hands off, anything that has to do with the funding of the Rivers State Assembly. Yes, that's the ideal. But what about the former governor that also benefited from this arrangement, where he had the control over the state assembly funds? Again,
they were from the same camp. So if we're seeing this, it's looking like I did my own and I enjoyed all the attachment that came with it. But then it's your turn, but you cannot do this.
Exactly.
But anyways, it's good that we're back on track.
So let's take a look at some other resolutions. The next one is about the Rivers State House of Assembly shall choose where they want to sit and conduct their legislative business without interference or hindrance from the executive arm. So the demolition of the state assembly in the state has been a hindrance to the Amaewhule-led faction to meet, and there are speculations that perhaps the burning and demolition of the State Assembly itself was to kind of pose a challenge for their lawmakers in terms of where they should meet and so on. So at one point we saw the Fubara faction meeting in the government house, and the other faction, nobody even knows where they meet sometimes, because and then you have these security officials that will usually deny them access to the assembly prior to the demolition and so on. So perhaps this will lay to rest if the lawmakers have the the ability to choose where they should meet and so on. The other resolution that was passed, like mentioned earlier, is the representation of the state budget. A lot of people have wondered whether that presentation of budget can stand, given the fact that there were only 5 lawmakers that were there when the budget was presented, the 2024 budget of the state. So that will be represented to the entire house.
It took a day for them to just approve it, and I felt like it was just done in spite, like let's just do it and go, because budget needs more time to digest, and that way it would be better. It's all about the people of River State, so it's good to revisit that. Yes.
And then of course the issue of the appointees that resigned, the River State Executive Council who resigned their appointment because of the political crisis in the state, they should be resubmitted to the State House of Assembly for approval. And then finally, the issue of the local government areas, that there should not be a caretaker committee for the local governments in River State. The dissolution of the local government administration is null and void and shall not be recognized. So we'll see how all that pans out in the coming days, whether or not these resolutions will bring a final end to the political impasse in River State. Let's get some perspectives. We have now joining us Dr. Algoso Bameyi, a public affairs analyst who will be talking about this. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning, Doctor.
Thank you for having me, and good morning, Nigeria.
Yes. Well, quite a lot, really. Let's get your take on the developments in River State, first of all, before we even look at the resolutions.
Well, it's a good thing that finally sanity and calm heads are prevailing, and things are returning to normal, and the people of the state will then have governance, which has been at a standstill for months now, actually right from inauguration. Let me say that in Nigeria generally, we're talking about River State, but in Nigeria generally, political administration, governance, is not about the good of the people. It's not about systems that work and deliver good for the people. It's about personality. It's about ego. It's about power control. And so anybody who can exert power and influence, do so. And that's exactly what we've seen in River State. You have a former governor who governed the state for 8 years, resisted his predecessor, Rotimi Amechi, who wanted to control him, but he resisted it, and ran the state almost like a czar. It's like the big fish in the pond. And then he's done his 8 years and decided not to move on. Just hang around and control the governor like an appendage. An addition, something that he can just play with anytime he wants. And that's why, and the governor resisted. So you have all this back and forth, all the wahala and the problems, some of which we'll talk about in a while. But you see that all across Nigeria, in various tiers of government. Even at the presidency, unfortunately, when Jonathan was defeated, he walked away. He allowed Buhari to rule without interference. It's also good to see that Buhari actually walked away too. He's been quiet in his hometown and has not been interfering in administration.
All right, Doctor. Let's talk about the resolution. You know, the 8-point resolution that was signed. Through the meeting that was put together by the president. Now, would you say that in all of these 8 points, there was one thing that we can actually say, okay, all of these things would actually favor the people of Rivers State? And at the end of the day, is it favoring the governor also?
Well, the governor is at a losing end if you look at it all. But I think that if he accepts it, and works with it, then it will be good for the people of the state eventually, because he's been asked to withdraw all the cases he instituted in the courts, and he will do that. The leadership of Martin has to be recognized, and we know that he's pro Wike, but he has majority of the members of the state legislature. And so if there is another move again for impeachment and all that, the governor is not really safe and secure as it stands right now. But the democracy is about give and take. He has to work to win the confidence of the people.
Okay, Doctor, look at it. You have former appointees, or I would say commissioners in his cabinet that are loyal to former Governor Nyesom Wike. They showed that, demonstrated that. They didn't hide their loyalty to former Governor Nyesom Wike by resigning their appointments because of this political impasse. We also see that these lawmakers, who are 27 in number, coming back, according to the resolution, So how do you see Governor Fubara navigating, his way out of this, where you have loyalists to former Governor Wike still in the legislative arm and also in your cabinet?
He's in a very tight spot, very, very tight spot. It's even end of all of this, and there's really nothing you can do about it, because in the first place it was Wike who brought him in. That has to be mentioned. We can't run away from that. He agreed to the arrangement. He was voted in, which worked for him. He was voted in. And then he tried to opt out of it. This political bargain that you do, and we will do this, we will vote you, we will work for you when you come in, do this and that for us. And the person agrees. He gets into the office, and then he wants to do something else. So right from the beginning, the arrangement has not been good.
Okay,
Unfortunately,
Doctor,
he's not going to...
What if what Fubara is trying to do is in the interest of the Rivers people, and then there's this conflict of interest here? He is, as a governor, perhaps, definitely, not perhaps, has a responsibility to the people of Rivers State. And in carrying out that mandate, how do you think that this whole arrangement can hinder him from actually executing and achieving all that he has set out to achieve as a governor?
His stand to act as the governor and to be recognized as the governor and to work as the governor is the right thing. Governors should be independent of political influence from the federal level, or politicians from within the state, or even the former governor. So, and that's why I sympathize with him, because it's actually something we've been talking about. Our governors, our local government chairmen should be free and act independently for the good of the people. Unfortunately, it's not like that. The situation is such that there are interferences. Even currently, this current Rivers situation was settled by President Tinubu himself. But when Tinubu handed over to Fashola, he interfered in Fashola's administration It even got to a point that the State House of Assembly wanted to impeach Fashola, and it took the intervention of ordinary Lagos citizens, to begin to collect signatures to recall the State House of Assembly members en masse.
Okay, so
before a truce was agreed upon.
Exactly.
So it's a problem
exactly.
that is in Nigeria.
So on that note, so far we haven't heard the voices of the people of Rivers State. Mainly, we've been hearing the voices of political actors. What should the people of Rivers do in this instance?
I think they should be proactive, like the people of Lagos. The people of Lagos are very proactive. I mean, look at them. You voted them. You voted the governor. You also voted the members of the State House of Assembly. Those who are not working for your interest.
No, but
the law allows for recall. If you have a sufficient number of signatures from his constituency, he can be recalled. And if that process is started, they will get back into their senses and know that we are here for the sake of the people, not for our sake. But as long as the people sit back quietly and do nothing about it, administration is not going to be for the people. It's going to be for the benefit and the pockets of politicians and those who have control. So they should be proactive like the people of Lagos. Get up, make noise, stand your ground, insist on the right thing to be done. Otherwise, you will be taken for granted all the time. And that seems to be the case in Rivers State right now. The people are being taken for granted.
Doctor, this resolution that the president, made avail or made it easy, for it to happen. Already, there's a bit of concern saying that it's not really favorable, with all the people that were present. Nigerians were saying that it doesn't really favor Governor Simi Fubara. And you mentioned earlier that it could be that he was in a tight spot, to sign these things. Among the 8 points, only one of them, which is the second one, actually favors him, saying about all the impeachment proceedings initiated against the governor of Rivers State should be dropped immediately. Apart from that, nothing is really favoring him in that part. I mean, the commissioners are going back, to be reinstated by those same House of Assembly members who also left their initial party to the other party. So would you say that this resolution would actually work, in the long term? Like, we will never hear of this kind of dispute again between Wike and Fubara?
The only way it's going to work is for Fubara to submit to it. And that's why I said he's in a very tight spot. On the surface, on the face of it, the Rivers State conflict has been resolved, but it's just for now. If he attempts to exercise his independence and be a man of himself, he's going to run into trouble. So we're going to have to wait to see how things turn out in the next few months. And as we go down the road in the life of this current administration. But as it stands right now, Governor Fubara is in a very bad place. He would have to play Wike's ball, or else eventually he's going to lose, because he's actually on the way out. Your commissioners, lots of your commissioners are not with you. A majority of the State House of Assembly are not there with you. The political structure is not there with you. I mean, he was bound to lose eventually. But I think that he understands it. That's why he agreed to this arrangement. It's not a good one. It's not a perfect arrangement.
Okay, Doctor. This resolution was signed by the PDP chairman in the state. And it's quite curious why a PDP chairman in the state will sign a resolution that says that 27 lawmakers who left his party, the PDP, to the APC, will be reinstated as lawmakers, against the pronouncement of Edison Ehi, the factional speaker of the Rivers State. It's quite curious, really, to see that happen. What does that say about political party structure at the subnational level? And, this posture of former Governor Wike, still being in the party as a PDP member and, just dabbling and, what do you call, fraternizing with the APC in such a manner that he's now even an appointee of the APC and so on. Yet, there's nothing disciplinary about, what the PDP will do.
Unfortunately, the PDP, especially in Rivers State, cannot do anything to Wike because, Wike is PDP in Rivers State. Let's tell the truth. Let's not run around about it. He's been allowed to take total control of the party. The state chairman is a Wike boy, so he has to sign that agreement. There's really nothing they can do as far as Wike is concerned. So, and the national PDP is not cohesive enough to also deal with Wike. That's the situation we are in now. It's very undemocratic.
Technically, we can safely say that River State is a one-state party, or I would say it's it's a single-party state.
One party state. I dare say it's a one-man state. But not even a one-party state, because one man controls the party that controls the state. Whatever he says, the truth of the matter is that as it stands right now, when Wike sneezes, the whole of Rivers State catches cold. Unfortunately, that's how undemocratic things have become, and the people of Rivers State have allowed themselves to be taken for a ride by a single individual. That's where we are right now.
Now, Doctor, people of River State would, come out to say that their voice are not really heard. We've seen situations where a lot of, citizens come out to air their own grievances and opinions about how the political world is going, but then nobody really listened to them. So do you think that there should be some kind of constitution or a body that would take care of these internal political issues happening in states, considering that the president does not even have the right or say to, reach out to these state people and make the decision for them? So do you think in states like this, there should be something, a constitution governing this godfatherism of somebody, trying to outshine the current person or holder of a particular seat?
The truth of the matter is that there are controls in place. There are legal, constitutional checks and balances and controls in place. But for two reasons, it's difficult to enforce it. And adding another legal control will not resolve it. The two reasons are this. One is attitude. The attitude of the people, we just sit back there quietly and we're seeing one man growing strong and strong and strong, and we don't do anything about it until he becomes a very powerful person and can take the state and the political party for granted. The other thing is the attitude of the political leaders themselves. When you're done, when your term is done, please move on and allow the person who comes in to settle down and be free to really run the administration so he can take responsibility for it. As it stands right now, a lot of state governors cannot really take responsibility for what is going on because they are being remote controlled either from Abuja or somewhere else. Now, the second problem is the process of primary elections that determine who stands as a candidate in the political parties. That's where the challenge starts, because the primaries are done through delegates, and the delegates are up for sale. Everybody knows that the delegates are up for sale. They are up for sale to the highest bidder. And usually the highest bidder is not the best candidate. As far as genuine administration, as far as bringing development is concerned, the highest bidders usually are business people who are using politics for business. And when they enter in there, they would only think about themselves and how they can control power perpetually and continue to stuff money into their pockets and their accounts. And that's where we have the problem. So if we're to change anything, it should be with the party primaries. Okay. Find a way that the delegates will truly have their mind and decide on the qualities of the people, not on the amount of money given to them.
Doctor, what are the options before the national party, the national body of the People's Democratic Party? So far, we haven't heard anything from the national body, the People's Democratic Party. So what are the options for them really to intervene in the political impasse in River State to protect the People's Democratic Party in that state?
In a normal situation where things are done properly, given the fact that Wike has openly worked against the interest of the party, and he currently holds a federal position that was given to him by an opposition party. In a normal circumstance, he should be expelled from the party. And that's where things are done normally. But PDP cannot do that to Wike. Right now, PDP cannot expel Wike.
And why is that?
The reason is that there's a term I would love to use, but it won't be nice on the air, so I'm not going to use that term. As it stands right now, if PDP expels Wike, it spells death for PDP. Because Wike has entrenched himself so strongly in the party, even at the stake of the presidential candidate of PDP in Adamawa State, where Atiku comes from. The influence of Wike is so strong that he can cause problems not only in Adamawa State but across the country in the party PDP. He sponsored lots of candidates, and so he can actually destroy the party. So they are afraid of touching him. That's why they're not saying anything.
In essence, you are saying that the powers or the influence of the FCT minister has gone beyond River State, politically speaking.
Yeah, it's gone. The truth of the matter is it's gone beyond River State. He has influence across the country. Some of the PDP governors that are occupying office currently were actually sponsored by him, not Atiku, not the presidential candidate, and not even the party. He gave them more money than the party, and than what Atiku gave to them, including the governor in Adamawa State. These things are in public domain. I'm not saying something secretive, but these facts are in public domain. So it's going to be difficult for them to discipline him in a ways and manner that normally should be done, so that you prevent this kind of thing in the future.
Okay.
As it stands right
Doctor.
now, they cannot do that.
All right, this is one case in point, and it points us to the issue of the weakness in our political party system in Nigeria. What should we be doing, to reform the political party system in a way that party will really be supreme? Because as it appears now, the party is not supreme.
It is not. It is not. The party is not supreme. We can. The main thing here is money. The overbearing influence of money in everything we do politically in Nigeria, and I dare say in the life of Nigeria generally. You might be a scientist and you're doing research, coming up with solutions that are genuinely helping people. As long as you don't have a lot of cash, the king from your place will not give you a chieftaincy title. A young man will enter a political office, occupy that office or an appointive office, and make a lot of money in a questionable way, but nobody is asking the question, and they're given a chieftaincy titles, national recognitions, etc., etc. So it's a national problem, not just a political problem. Unfortunately, it shows a lot more in the political arena. Whatever reforms we come up with has to do with reducing the influence of money in politics, especially at the primary elections level.
Doctor, talking about money, power, and influence. Now, at this point, we all know how power drunk people can be. And based on our discussion, it's pointing out that Wike, have this amount of power that nobody in a country should have. So what does this say, for the 2027 election? How are we going to handle situations like this where an individual feels, I am very powerful and I can influence everything?
It's between now and 2027, it's a long way, and a lot of things can happen. And I hope something will happen to reduce the overbearing influence and power that Wike carries. Everybody knows that he has ambitions for the presidency. And given his temperament and his nature, I dare say that even Tinubu is not secure on that seat that he's in, playing around with someone like Wike, because by 2027 he might have sufficient influence in APC to maybe make an attempt at getting the presidential primaries in APC. So again, it comes back to the fact that we allow individuals to become so strong, and the systems are so weak that they are at the mercy of individuals that are so strong. You're not going to have genuine development in that kind of situation. Where you have genuine development, it's a place where the systems are stronger than individuals. I mean, right now, Donald Trump is in court because the systems in America works. He has something to answer for. He's been taken to court. In Nigeria, you don't do that to a former president. You can't even do it. The sitting president in the United States of America, Biden, his son, as we're talking now, is also in court. And you don't do that here. Individuals are so strong here, and as a result, corruption will always grow stronger and prevail, and government will not work for the benefit of the people, but for the benefit of those who control government. Between now and 2027, I don't know what is going to happen. I wish something positive will happen so that we have a better playground by 2027. Otherwise, this kind of thing is going to continue, and Wike will continue to be a headache, not only to Rivers State, but to Nigeria as a whole. I see him becoming a headache for Nigeria as a whole.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Agoso Bameyi, Public Affairs Analyst. We thank you for your perspectives on this issue.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Well, there you have it. Perspectives on the issue of the political impasse in Rivers State following the resolutions signed yesterday by the parties involved in that impasse. Very striking points and, thought-provoking points made by Dr. Agoso there, talking about, the influence of former Governor Wike, not only in Rivers State, but now we are talking about
national.
Nigeria as a country.